Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel, Sewing a Little. In today's video, we're going to show you how to make this cover for the beach. So it's perfect for this summertime. Although fall is right around the corner, there's still some weeks of summer left and we have to enjoy this time at the beach that we have left. So as you can see, this cover is absolutely beautiful for this time of the year. We decided to name it Vera, and I'm going to speak to you a little bit about a few facts about this cover. So this cover-up has 4 darts. It has 2 in the front and 2 in the back. It is perfect for beginner sewers. So if you're just getting started in this world of crafts, then you're going to love this tutorial. If I didn't mention before, we thought that the darts were a special touch for this cover since it does give it a little bit more form to the dress. Something to note also is that it has an adjustable strap. So as you can see, it connects with the neck. So you're going to be able to adjust your bust area and just adjust the dress in general. Since it connects to the neck, this is going to be what's going to hold everything in place. We're obviously going to be showing you how to make the strap, everything. And I'm just in love with this cover-up for this time of the year. Again, before we get started with the tutorial, remember that you can download the pattern. It's down below in the description box. And also, before we get started, remember that you can follow us on our Instagram page. There we share some behind the scenes, and we also connect with you guys a little bit more and talk a little bit more about sewing and give you a few tips here and there. Alright, now let's not wait any longer and let's get sewing! These are the cutting materials that we will need for the beach cover-up called Vera. First, we will need the pattern. The link to where you can download it is down below in the description box. You will need fabric, a sufficient amount. We are using a thick lace fabric, but you can select the color and the type of fabric that you like the most. Again, this dress is very comfortable and practical because it covers you enough to go to the beach while you're wearing your swimsuit underneath. You will also need pins or tailor's chalk or fabric pencil, preferably white if you're using a black fabric like us so that you can see the marks that you are making. Weights if you wish, a ruler, and a rotary blade. As supplies, you will need your 1 needle machine, a cover machine, and a marrow stitch machine. But it is not necessary since you can use your domestic single needle machine with a stretch stitch or with an elastic stitch, and it will also allow you to build this coverall and it will look absolutely beautiful. Again, all the materials and machinery used in this video will be with direct links down below in the description box. For the dress, we will need to cut 2 fronts. As you can see, the instructions are very clear in the pattern. The pattern we are using in this video is a testing or draft pattern, but you will already have it updated with specific instructions when you download it. Now for a special tip, when you are marking the notches, if they are on a solid fabric, like most of the time, the signs are made or marked inside. But in the event that you are working on lace fabrics, as in this case, what you will do is cut a small V-shaped peak towards the outside. We will continue to cut and mark the signs in this way. Since this is a long piece, you can use pins or weights to cut your garment. In our case, we are going to be using the pins to mark the darts, but you can use them at your convenience. We will continue cutting like so. When we get to the first sign, we just make a little V-shaped cut towards the outside like this and continue cutting. If you don't want to mark the notch with the rotary cutter because you don't have that much practice, there's no problem. You can mark them perfectly with scissors. We're done cutting this piece, but before we remove the pattern, we're going to place pins where the darts go. The pins we are using are patchwork type pins, but you can use smaller ones or the ones that you have on hand. We are going to introduce the pin through the sign where the dart is in the pattern. We lift the paper, and here where the pin is, we are going to mark the dart with the tailor's chalk. We will do the same process with the other darts. But to serve you as reference, we can also lift the other side and we can mark there as well. To cut the back, we will do the same process as with the front. When we get to the notch, we make a small cut outwards with the scissors. In the downloadable pattern, you will already have the external notches in case this is your case also and you are working with lace fabrics. But the signs still serve as a guide if you are using a solid fabric. We keep cutting, and when we get to the notch, we'll also make an external notch and keep cutting. When we finish cutting the back part, we are going to do the same as with the front part. We are going to insert the pin in this way at the dart sign. We fold, and at the meeting point where the pin and the fabric is, we mark with the tailor's chalk. Remember that we can also take advantage of the fact that we already have the fabric folded on itself, and we can mark the other side as well. We will do the same with the lower notches. Now we are going to be cutting the straps. If you have enough fabric, you can fold it in the center. Otherwise, you can simply cut 2 singles. Since we have enough fabric, we are going to fold it to cut. In all the pieces, if you wish, you can use pins or weights. In our case, we prefer the weights, but you can cut with the tools that you prefer. Remember that with practice, you will feel more comfortable and confident in sewing. You are going to have in the pattern the measure of the width by the desired length. You can have it shorter or longer as you want to tie the strap of the dress around the neck. Taking advantage of the fact that we have the fabric folded, we will be cutting the facing. It's as simple as cutting this piece all the way around. Once we finish cutting, these are the pieces that we should have. One back with its darts marked, 2 fronts also with its darts marked. We will also need the strap. Of this it can be 1 or 2, depending on the amount of fabric that you have left. You can cut it in the middle and make 2 straps if necessary. But if you get a whole piece, you will be able to eliminate that step. Again, it is up to your preference. We will also need 2 facings for the front. We put away all our sewing materials, and now let's get sewing! We will start with the fronts. We are going to fold it over itself. As you can see, we already marked where the darts should go. Now we will be sewing from here to here, nothing more. Here is the white mark of the tailor's chalk. We will give it 2 or 3 stitches from back to the front, and we are going to stitch it until we reach the mark that we already had before. Once we've reached this point, we finish off back stitching. Bearing in mind that this is a lace fabric, we are not going to backstitch too much, but enough to stop the dart from coming undone. Now, to make the piece even more beautiful, we are going to open it, dividing the dart in the middle, and we will place pins. As you can see, the division that we have made is in the middle of the seam that we made previously. So here we are going to give it a few stitches so that the dart is divided in the middle. It will be enough stitches to help it keep its form. We will do the same at the end of the dart. We remove the pins. As you can see, we already sewed. Now it's time to go to the iron. Now we're going to take the facing and we're going to fold it about 3/4 of an inch. We are going to place it from above as far as the facing reaches. First, we will sew it to the edge since it is a lace fabric and it is a bit cumbersome to sew. So first, so that it stays put, we are going to sew it to the edge. But if this is not your case, you can skip this step. In any case, if you have to sew the facing, you can sew at 1/2 inch. Always calculate that this fabric is a lace. If that's your case, you will see moments in which the little pieces of the fabric can get out of measure. To fix this issue, we will just clean it like so. Again, this union of the front with the facing is going to be 1/2 inch as far as the facing goes, and at the end we finish off back stitching. We already have it sewn. Now we are going to make a backstitch seam on the facing. We are going to do the same step on the other front as well. Now we are going to join it in the front with the back. We have to unite these two parts and do the same as in the front. We are going to stick with the pin until we get it out the other side. As this is a lace, we do this step with a little more care. This would be the result. So we will sew from here to here. Now we will do the same as we did with the front. We are going to open it and we will help ourselves by marking the distance with 2 pins. As you can see, we should be left with something like this. Now we move to the presser. We iron the fold that we made this way. We will also iron it on the front. This is just to settle the seams. Now we place the back of the dress underneath. We'd be facing the rights this way. And we'll put pins where the signs are that we made earlier. As the distance between one notch and the other is very long, we are going to put a pin in the marked notch. And then we will be placing another pin in an approximate middle between one notch and the other. We will do the same step until the end of the dress. The next step would be to sew the entire side on the machine. We would also assemble the strap that goes to the neck. If you want, you can use pins along the entire length of the strap. Now we will start to close the side. We remove the pin before sewing. Keep in mind that the overlock machine has a blade, so always remove the pins as you get closer to the blade. As you can see, our machine has fabric remains because we use it daily for production. We will sew it in this way until we reach the end. Keep in mind that this is the side. We will be doing this same process on the other side. Now we are going to sew the strap that will serve as a support ornament for our dress. We are going to sew it square, and now we are going to sew the entire edge of the strap. With the other end, we will also close the tip and begin to sew the piece. Now we are going to sew the bottom hem of our dress. We're going to do it at 1/2 inch. In our case, we are going to do this with a domestic cover machine. The link to this machine is down below in the description box. But if you do not have this machine, there is no problem at all. If your fabric is similar to ours and it does not shed, you can do this hem perfectly by folding the fabric once over itself and making a decorative stitch or a straight stitch with an elastic seam. That way it will give it a nice finish on the outside. You can also use your domestic machine with 2 needles. we begin to sew the entire hem of the dress this way. We are going to help the machine a little while we sew because the fabric, being a lace, usually gets a little inside the teeth of the machine. But as you can see, the seam should look something like this. We already have the whole hem done. Now we are going to hem the front part. You can leave it raw if you wish, but in our case we are going to do the same as we did before. We are going to fold the fabric once over itself, and we are going to sew the same as we did with the hem. We are going to stop sewing right where the facing begins. Regardless of the machine in which we are sewing, the operation should stop here. We pull, cut the threads, and we are going to sew the other side in the same way. Now, as we did on the bottom of the dress, we are going to hem from one end to the other of the top of the dress, including the facing. Again, in this step, we are including the facing. As you can see, we start here, and now we're going to turn the entire top of the dress until we reach the other end. Again, this is a very easy dress. With a decorative stitch on the domestic machine, it will look as beautiful. In this moment, if you want, you can put an elastic and adjust it in this way. In our case, we did not see it necessary because as it is a dress to cover up your swimwear, we prefer it to be lightweight. And at this point, we had made the entire hem to the top of the dress. Now finally, we move back to the single needle machine to close the facing. Just like we sewed the facing against the front, in this seam we are going to fold here. Down here we are not going to sew nor up either, since this is going to become a tunnel. We help ourselves a little with the pins so that it stays put where we have folded it, where we have it folded. Now we are going to turn it over and we are going to fold this part of the facing, which is what we are going to sew to the dress. The amount that we are folding is to about a ½ inch. We're going to be folding it and we're going to be pinning it to the dress with a single seam. And with this, what we're making is a tunnel to insert the strap that we made before. It must be hollow on both sides since that is where we will be inserting the strap. We will do the same process with the other side of the dress. The two fronts must look something like this, cleaned so that the seam is not visible. We are going to look for the space that we have left, and with the tool that we have on hand, we are going to turn the strap inside out. Here we have left an opening of 1 inch. We are going to take it out here and do the same with the other end. Now we are going to close this space that we have left open by hand. Now we are going to help ourselves out with a safety pin. As this fabric has so much relief, we are going to fold it twice, and here we inject the pin with which we are going to pass it. We introduce it through the tunnel that we have made. We will do it carefully because since this fabric is lace, it can easily come out. Now we're going to pull from it and continue with the pin on the other side of the dress. We introduce the pin again and take it out from above. And now, let's see the finished result! that is very easy to make. You won't have any complications at all. And if by any chance you download the pattern and you have any questions about the tutorial, about the pattern, about measurements, just let us know. You can contact us through Instagram, through our email, or through here in the comments on YouTube, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Remember that our goal in this channel is that you enjoy sewing and that you dive a little bit into this world of crafts, because it's absolutely beautiful to have a hobby like this in this time of day. And if you like, why not? You can definitely make a business out of sewing. We will be making future videos on that. We have been working on a sewing project for a few years now, and we're able to finally have it live very soon. So trust me, you won't want to miss that video. That's why you need to subscribe and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when we upload all those sewing content videos that you won't want to miss. Alright, once again, that was all for this tutorial, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye!